Oh. Oh, good morning, guys. I heard I messed up the show post on the time. I'm sorry. I know it's easy math. It's only 1 hour, but the Central Time thing is throwing me off.
I have no audio.
Oh no. Oh, I wonder, does everybody else
anybody.
have audio? Joe, do you have audio?
I don't know what happened.
Audience, can you hear me? Because I'm on a cell phone hotspot. I wonder if it's
I can
me.
hear you now. It's
Okay.
my fault. It's my problem. My problem. Sorry.
That is, you know, you go gallivanting off last week. You don't have audio this week. It's what's going on, Joe? How are you, man?
Gallivanting. I went to to this conference. It was a road show for some kind of software that we use with my job. That's too boring to talk about.
Gotcha. Did you get? I mean, did you get a customer or connect, or was it just a morning in St. Pete that you gotta regret?
Yeah, it was just learning about the software that we're going to use for the next tax season. So,
Gotcha. Okay. How is St. Pete? I've never been excited to go there, but maybe I'm missing out. Is there something? I mean, other than Jeremy Bod, Jeannie and Jeremy live there, but other than them, is there what's in anything there?
I love St. Pete. St. Pete's a really cool. It's got a really cool downtown area. I used to go down there a bunch. It's always been fun. It's got a great pier. We did there's a great rooftop bar that I like to go to there. It's really cool. It's got a nice view. It's awesome. Yeah.
Maybe all these years I've been underselling and missing out on St. Pete. I never really. Yeah. Okay.
It's just far for us, but yeah, it's a good spot. I really like it. And the airport is really small. You can get in and out real quick. You know, I saw this article, this might be a little local, but I saw this article, USA Today is nominated. You know, they have like those silly things like, oh, the top airports in
the you gotta have your best list. Yeah.
Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay is on that list, the Tampa International Airport. And so it was on Facebook or one of those social media sites. So I thought, oh, let's see. Every once in a while, I like to see what like trolls say about stuff. Just
for
to
some
get
good
a laugh
mental health and to feel good about society. You seek this out. You're like, what'll I do tonight? I would go troll watching. This will be fun.
I want to hear the contrarian point of view sometimes. So, and it's not even a point of view. It's just people being, but under that article where it says Tampa International Airport, it was unanimous. Everyone said, yes, I agree with this. Tampa International Airport, one of the greatest airports in the country. Wow.
Okay. I've flown out of there, but it's been 30 years. So I guess
I've always thought of it as it's so easy. It's great. I don't know why I'm plugging Tampa International Airport. Maybe I'm just proud of it. I don't know. I'm not sure. But come to Tampa. If you're out of Tampa, out of Florida, come to Tampa. We've got a great airport.
Joe's looking hard for the sponsorships. He's like, Adam, we don't need snake sellers. International travel. That's what this show is going to hit home on. He dreams big. I like it.
I mean, we got an international audience. I mean,
we do. Actually, yeah, we do. We got Pedro, our man in Moscow. Man, what a little summit going on there right now, huh?
Yeah, yeah, not bad. You know, we got and look at how I show off the area too. I mean, this is a beautiful. I got a rolled up rug back there that's been there for 2 months. I
Right,
just need to lie it out. That's all. It's a beautiful rug. I got a whiteboard. It's great. I mean, this is a
right behind
beautiful
the
area.
wall is an amazing sunrise. It's happening. There's a little rabbit in the yard that the sun comes up over.
See, perfect. Come to Tampa. Great
Okay,
airport. Rolled up rugs.
so January in Tampa, maybe it's February. I'll have to look at the date. Historically, it was January, but then it was like the Super Bowl. Sometimes it would be in January, and then there's been a creep, like it'll go to February. Do you know what they announced is in January?
The Royal Rumble.
That's right. The road to WrestleMania kicks off in Tampa. I might have to go. I know a place where I could crash that cuts out. I mean, that's right in my financial wheelhouse. That's the hack. You don't pay hotels. Show up with some wine, and then we go to the Royal Rumble.
Hey, I heard that yesterday. I was like, okay, I got to bring this up. I got to talk to Adam about this, see if it's on his radar.
Yeah, it's on the radar, man. So I can't believe we're going to do a segment here on this, but yeah. So, all right. Currently, Roman Reigns, over 3 years, one of the longest reigning champion in modern times. And Cody has made his triumphant return for about a year and change now through a really big injury too. And the culmination of the story is that Dusty Rhodes never got the WWE championship. So Cody, his whole life has been after he's got to complete the story. He started a rival promotion, AEW, left it to come back to pursue the WWE championship. And I think that culminates at WrestleMania in Philly, but I think the Royal Rumble is going to really purely set the stage for that.
So, and the Royal Rumble is still what it used to be. It's like is it like a battle royal?
30-man over the top rope battle royal.
Yes.
The winner of the Royal Rumble gets to fight the champion at WrestleMania of their choice. But there's two champions now. They have one for each brand. It got very complicated. There's the Raw champion and the SmackDown champion. So Cody will go up against Roman, I'm sure, but whoever wins Royal Rumble will take on the other champion.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, now I understand the intricacies of the WWE.
Oh, we scrape the surface, and that
and also it's not. I've heard that it's moved on from the McMahons too, right?
Not quite moved on, but yes. As a matter of fact, this week that is newsworthy. Tuesday, the McMahon finalized the sale to the parent company of the UFC. So yes, they did sell. McMahon still sits on their Vince McMahon still sits on their board. His son-in-law, Triple H, Paul Levesque, his real name, is still the executive of operations and creative that's still running the show. So their thumbprint is firmly entrenched. But yes, they did take the money and cash out.
So we'll move on from wrestling in a second, but you mentioned Triple H, and I always think it's funny that he's known as Triple H because of his first, I think was his first gimmick or his first
do you know
persona. It? Yeah, Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
That's right. His little rich Connecticut boy gimmick stuck with him. Yeah, he always held on to it. Yeah.
And then like his next persona was like this, like hardcore, like what was it like Degeneration X or something
DX,
like that.
That's right. Yeah, with the partnership with Shawn Michaels. Yeah,
just completely 180.
Yeah, well, that's really, I don't know. He's legitimately one of the great creative minds of wrestling. But anyway, we can. I'm excited. Maybe I'll fly into Tampa International. Yeah. So, all right. So we got Joe back. I'm catching everybody up. If for the record, I'm still sitting on a porch in Minnesota. I get the house tomorrow, and little housekeeping tonight's Proper Royals Live has gotten moved to a Thursday night. I had to make a quick side trip this week that was not quick and derailed the Tuesday night episode. So we've got the president of USARK Florida, Elizabeth Wisniewski, and then the director of communications for USARK Florida, Daniel Parker. They'll be on the show tonight to discuss the current update to the lawsuit. There was a ruling, and it's sort of a where do we go from here, catch up. We'll get things in layman's terms, but actually it's a really important show. So we'll kick back this morning and goof off and have fun. Tonight we dig into legal intricacies about the future of our industry. Check it out. That will be at the normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I know I screwed up this show programming it, but 8 p.m. Eastern Thursday night tonight.
Let's talk about you for a few minutes, because obviously you're in a different location. Were you in this location last week? I'm sorry.
I was trying to steal some Wi-Fi last week. I wasn't stealing it; it's free. But I heard that the cell phone actually did better on the hotspot, so now I've just stuck with my deck. But I hear that my video might be laggy, but maybe the audio is okay.
Yeah, you're stuck on your deck, which looks like it's absolutely gorgeous there. That looks like a great spot.
There's a little sunrise over the lake.
Yeah, man, come on.
I know. Life is all right. I complain, but it's all right. I see Joe Walsh song, life's been good. I can't complain, but sometimes I still do,
Right.
It's pretty true. There's a lot of wisdom in Joe Walsh. He knows what's up.
So how long? So what do you got now? You got a day, a couple of days? What do you got?
Yeah. No, we're down to hours now, man. Tomorrow morning we close on the new house. The setting isn't the problem. It's our lack of, when you go on vacation, you expect to live on 3 pairs of jeans and, a couple t-shirts and then you'll be home and you're, the knife that you like to use to slice your veggies is over there, and your towel that you enjoy is over there. And, maybe a robe in this weather that's over there. Not now. I've been on living out of a suitcase for a month, not a month, but it feels like a month, packing the house because we had to get everything out of the house. Everything's in a pod right now. So it's cool, but I'm happy. Like I say, what am I complaining about? It's a beautiful life. I'm good.
And how's it going with setting up your business there? I mean, are you feeling comfortable? You feeling good? I saw a few posts on Instagram about, connecting with folks up there.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little antsy. I had everything established pretty dang well in Florida. The machine was rolling in Florida, and I've kind of upended that. So my first show is 10 days from now in Davenport, Iowa. I'll be vending at the Show Me Snake show in Davenport on the 24th. So we'll check that out. The local community has been really, really great. It's felt good, but I haven't sold a penny. I've had 0 sales in September. So it's been a little challenge to get things rolling. I do have hatchlings on the way, and I got a new October 1st. I'll announce it, but we got a new business venture coming up in the industry. So some things have to fall in place first. I'm still waiting on those. So I'm diversifying a little bit, hedging my bets, keeping up a variety of revenue streams while all these things come together, so right. It's good. It feels perfect other than the 0 revenue part. That's the that's the challenge. So guys, check out, you want to see the list, shoot me an email. You want to, check it all out.
This is the first time I've heard Adam actually plug selling. So
yeah,
it must be pretty bad, Adam.
That's when you know it's getting a little bit rough, when I'm plugging selling. I do have snakes for sale. I would be happy to sell them, but it'll come around. Those go in spurts, and I'm booked for 6 shows between now and the end of the year. So I'll be doing 2 a month. And I'll get into some more if I can. I couldn't get into some of them because they're sold out. So what I'm really trying to figure out is what shows are worth doing and which circuits are worth being on.
Sure. Yeah.
There's about 4 different competing promoters up here. And, I got a lot of input from local breeders, but one person way up on the food chain might not be interested in a show that works for me if they're averaging $1,200 an animal on a sale, that's a different clientele than I'm going for $400 to $700 per sale right now.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you kind of got to find your own. It's almost like playing gigs at bars that you've never been in. You're like, well, I'm going to give this one a shot and see. And then you start to build that reputation, that circuit. Okay, that one worked. Okay, that one I'm probably not going back to. But you got to do that time and effort. So that's where I'm back to. That's the rest of this year.
Well, it's like I would say shows aren't new to you at all, but
Right.
fair. I mean, when did you start doing shows? Not
This
I
year.
mean,
Yeah,
this
January
year.
was
Yeah,
my
yeah.
very first show ever.
So, I mean, in the course of your experience of breeding, selling snakes, being in the game, this is your first year. So it's kind of a maybe a third of the amount of time that you've been doing this. Is that where you sell the most, or is it more about creating an awareness of who you are and how to contact you?
Both. It's been a weird arc. So when most of us in this audience first started and not even started selling, because a lot of people in the audience have been selling much, much longer than I have. But when this whole thing kind of got going, the place is called Morph Market. It's basically, I was going to say an eBay, but it's more like a marketplace. There's not really auctions on Morph Market. That was the place. It's what you needed. And especially in COVID, you couldn't do shows anymore. Or if you could, it was weird. And then to mask or not to mask, were you going to make a customer mad? All that stuff that we all went through in life.
Yeah.
But Morph Market has really kind of died. I wouldn't say died. It's still the marketplace, but the sales avenues are so diversified. And so, the sales avenues between Instagram, Facebook groups, shows, but yeah, shows have become the central point of it. And what happens at shows is you do the shows and you get your revenue from that show, but the 10 people that you interacted with that didn't buy, you planted the seed in their head, and then they call you after the show, or they follow your sales, or you build that customer relationship, because shipping is great, and shipping is very, very viable with our industry. But person to person trust of a breeder still takes, it's still far better. There's people in the audience that have I'm thankful for, that have been really great customers and spent a lot of money with me. Part of it was that I was a local or a regional breeder that they could trust face to face rather than a stranger shipping. So
yeah,
that's the benefit of shows. So you are selling, but you're building your network and you're building that trust. And people see you at the very first show and you're the new guy. By the third or the fourth show, they're like, oh, there's that guy. He's here again. He's working. He's at every show. And and that's where the ball starts rolling. And that's kind of what I walked away from in Florida. So I'm a little, I want to get back to that. But I'll rebuild it. I did it once. I'll do it again.
Yeah. Oh, I've no doubt. I have no doubt. I have complete faith in your ability to do that. I wonder. So the last time we spoke, the last time I was here, we talked about how when you're selling, you kind of gauge the customer to see if they're serious about taking care of these snakes, right?
Yeah, we did talk about that some. Yeah.
So I actually have a question for the chat. If you want to chime in, do you are when you buy, are you doing the same type of thing? Like, do you gauge the seller and go, oh, this person, I want to buy from this person because I can tell certain things about how they treat their creatures, how they treat their snakes. I just wonder about that as well. Like, if, let's say there's this great snake that is that seems like I want to buy it, but I get a bad vibe off of the seller.
Yeah.
Does that play into the buying of the
Big
snake?
time. Yeah, probably. And I don't want to speak for the audience. They'll chat in. You're going to light up the audience on this one. But yeah, probably. I wouldn't say, yeah, I would say more so. In this world of community, if you get tagged as a dirty breeder or an unhealthy breeder or a disease breeder or an infested breeder, it's really hard to come back, man. There was probably about the time we started doing this, Joe, maybe just a little bit before, there was a real controversy with a guy out in North Carolina, and everybody in the audience knows who I'm talking about. There was a real movement. He got kicked off a morph market. People were boycotting shows if the shows let him vend because of the treatment of his animals. And like, here's the other problem. That stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. If you got diseases and you're bringing your snakes to a show, or you got infestations and you're bringing your snakes to a show, the people vending next to you or the customer that just went and handled your snakes and walk over to your booth, you suddenly jeopardize your own animals. And so there's that challenge that goes with it. So most definitely we do pretty well at self-policing, and to be honest, it's a little bit overboard, because the other problem is that people can go headhunting or targeting, and then there's rumors. Oh, so Adam sold me so and so. No, I didn't. It's like getting sick after eating at a restaurant. It could have been something you ate 3 days ago, but because you had, pizza, you think it's the pizza.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There's a little bit of that, but by and large, yeah, it's a real effort to make sure that you stay well respected and that you stay highly regarded. It's a real stain to get rid of.
Let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this. Let's see. Okay, great. Yeah, Joe. Yes, there are definitely a few breeders that I don't want to buy from, even if so. I'm thinking about this too, and it's different because these are living pets. They're creatures. They're
right.
You want to take care of them, but like as a collector, I haven't really ever collected anything except for comic books, right? So when I was a kid, I collected comic books, and what I liked about that was you could go to like an established, this great comic book store. I grew up in Pennsylvania. We would travel an hour to go to this one comic book store because it was just such a huge place. It had so many cool things in it and everything. So you'd go there, right? And then and they would have auctions. I remember this guy, and he was a really small guy, right? And he would get up on this like little crate and he'd do an auction of comic books. It was fantastic. But I was a little kid and I go with my dad. And and every time I wanted a comic book, I'd just tap my dad's leg, and he would go like that. Oh, and a few times the price would get a little too high for my dad, and that's when I would really start kicking him in the leg.
Kick you back. Yeah, okay.
So anyway, so you'd go to that. But what I also really enjoyed is I liked going to like a flea market, right?
Yeah.
And usually at a flea market, there's like a little there's a little booth of comic books,
right?
And every once in a while, and like these guys aren't like they're selling, maybe they're not established, maybe they have like a box of comic books, and then they have a whole bunch of other collectibles, and you'd go there and then you'd find this gem of a comic book. And I wonder, I was trying to think about that and collecting, and and what the topic is today, which is collaborating or competing. Are those two things similar experiences enough that they're competitors, or is it something different? And I think it's something different. I think it's to go to a smaller vendor is something different than going to a large established thing, and they both have their their benefits. They both have their good experiences, you know?
So real quick, and that great intro to our topic, and I appreciate that, because people also don't realize our show prep is like 3 quick ideas on text and like a quick 1 syllable from Joe with an exclamation point of yes. Okay, cool. Show prep done. So no, that was great. But hey, real quick, where in Pennsylvania are you from?
I'm from Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. So a lot of people know I say Stroudsburg, and they go, "Oh, the trains." And I go, "No, not the trains. That's like there's like this train museum in Strasbourg, which is it's south. It's outside of Philadelphia. It's closer. I'm in Stroudsburg, which is in the Poconos, the Pocono Mountains. So that's where I'm from. Who asked that question?
That's Chris at BNS Reptilia. He's one of our evening show sponsors, man. That's Chris. He and I are going to be hitting Tinley together next month. Tinley, the Chicago show of reptile show. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, those are really 2 really good examples. And I have a few thoughts. So there are a few, but very few like reptile shops you would go to. And usually, I won't speak for the audience, but usually as a breeder, if you were to go to a reptile shop, you're really only kind of going to see what they're offering and to poke around and to do some ground research. Most of us truly won't buy from shops. We'll buy equipment at shops. We'll support our local shops. We might buy feeders from shops, but pet shop snakes tend to not be as healthy, as not a specialized care. And they have rent to pay. That's a different business model. They're expensive relative to what they might be worth in our circles.
Okay.
So there is that, but you also generally are not going to find that needle in a haystack, that gem of a snake that's new in a pet shop. Because it's taken generations and years to come up with something new. And pet shops are generally either breeding on their own or they're buying wholesale. And that doesn't make sense for their business model. A pet shop isn't going to invest 3 to 5 years to create a snake they could sell for $3,000. It's just that's not going to happen. So all those economics don't really play into it that way. They are good for community. There's really well-known exotic stores here in Twin Cities. There's Twin City Reptiles in Jacksonville, those extreme exotics. They're great shops. They're really cool and they do great for the industry. But as far as what we would go look for, we actually would see a whole lot more of almost the flea market model. Now, the shows are much cleaner than flea markets. We pride ourselves on cleanliness and care for the animals. I think 15 and maybe even 10, some of the old timers can chime in. I think 10, 15 years ago, you might have found some of those gems, and you probably still can. But the day and age of internet, Instagram, clout, showing off. I mean, some of the Instagram photos are lifestyle photos. Like there's a dude that sits in a jacuzzi taking pictures in his Gucci glasses, dancing with his snakes. Like there's such a avenue to show off. And there's really very little benefit to not showing off or flying under the radar, because there's so much work, effort, and overhead involved in these animals. I mean, if they're for sale, you're advertising and you're wanting to move them any way that you can. So they are out there, though. There's always new breeders that are excited, that are doing the right thing the right way, that have beautiful animals. I mean, I think everybody knows Shannon and I are really good buddies, but Shannon, his first show that he vended was at Daytona. He rolled into there with amazing animals that he's been collecting and working on for a few years right out of the gate. So somebody probably said, hey, we found a gem there at Green Dragon Brokers, but now there's an internet show talking about him. He's not going to be under the radar, so it kind of goes pretty quick. And And once you do have that gem, it really catches fire as well. Like I look at like a good buddy like Dale at Constricted Reptiles. Dale can't stand Instagram. He hates reels. He hates stories. He just wants to post pictures. Guy's got 20,000 followers because the stuff that he posts is unreal what he's producing. He's not flying under a radar. So there's kind of that feel, but you do go looking for it. You do try and find it, and you do try and find those new breeders that you can really connect with.
Yeah. I mean, I love this Benevolent Reptiles. I'm still not people and the brand. I'm not sure, but I let my kid go ahead of me to the tables at the shows and see how they're treated. That's a well thought out plan.
Yeah.
To figure out who you want to buy from, even if there's a gem that you find from somebody who you don't really like, you still don't want to buy from them.
No. Okay. And this is part of sort of the business industry that's really the hard part. And I talk about it often. There's very, very few of us, very few, maybe legitimately 10. I mean, there's examples everywhere, but the reality is most of us are producing very similar stuff to each other.
Okay.
And I believe Benevolent Reptiles, I believe his name is Adam as well. His point is really, really good as an example of it's so competitive. There's 50 ball python breeders at every reptile show. They're so competitive. We're all producing the same stuff. Very few of us are producing earth-shattering, groundbreaking, something new. We're all riding the coattails of somebody else. What we're really selling is a relationship, a community, a future breeding project. I'm the guy that you could trust and connect with, and you have to work your butt off to get every customer and treat every person amazing. And him sending his kid in first is another great example of you just can't underestimate anybody. You have to engage with every person. And there's sellers that are really, really great at that. And some people have built and again, I'll go back to Dale. Dale's an awesome dude, but he is not an extrovert. Anybody that knows him in the audience knows that. So there are people that have built their reputations on just the snakes, but most of us really have to be engaging, really have to work with building the relationships first, because there's not a huge differentiating factor. Our differentiating factor from competitors is ourselves rather than our animals, by and large.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's interesting. And it reminds me of buying. I went to a flea market when I was a kid. I found this Fantastic Four number 25.
Okay.
And it was the second time the Thing fought the Hulk. And those were the comic books that I loved the most. Thing versus Hulk. I would go and I try to find those episodes, right? And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I bought it. And then I got it home. And as a collector, I liked collecting, but I liked reading as well. So, reading a comic book.
Right.
So I was flipping through it, and I saw somebody had taken a pen and doodled on like page 25 or whatever.
Oh no.
So I had made a mistake, and I didn't really, and I remember feeling like, oh yeah, I guess I'll sell to this kid or whatever. And I brought it home, and it was a mistake that I had made to buy that particular comic book. I was able to read it, which is great, but in terms of collecting,
right?
And I wonder, and that's kind of, I don't know, that's similar. It's like
similar.
Yeah, it's like saying it's finding somebody that you trust, and then knowing that they take care of their animals, the way that they treat them, and knowing that you're going to get a good product that doesn't have pen on page 25 of it, you know?
Yeah, there's a few things wrapped up in there too. Like one thing we talk about a lot is that don't take a sale or make the sale to the wrong customer. And I don't mean as in people are wrong and right. I mean it as in, don't go into hard sale for the wrong reasons, to take a sale right now, because that person's never going to come back. They're going to feel taken advantage of. They're going to feel resentful. And again, there's not that many of us. I know that it seems huge. I know that Daytona was a massive, overwhelming display of how many vendors there are, but it's a small community. Like, we know each other, and you're going to get, you just get seen as the aggressive salesperson. You get seen as the person that lies or tells somebody, oh, this morph is in there. No, it's not. And so then they never come back. They build resentment towards you. And there's like, I'm not a big like energy and manifestation kind of guy, but a crowd attracts a crowd. If there's nobody at your booth because you have this like stench of untrustworthiness, nobody's coming by. You're not going to make a sale. People want to be like part of something. So there's that part to it. And then the other part of it is, I listened to this it was a great business talk, but it really boiled it down. And they, of course, use a restaurant analogy. At the end of the day, you got to have great food on the plate. You can have the atmosphere. You can have the people. What are people buying? They're buying the killer steak on the plate. You got to have a killer product. And that scribble in the corner of that page, from a collector standpoint, was not a great product that day. And here it sticks with you. How many years ago is that? 30?
Yeah. It was 34 years ago.
People remember it, right?
Yeah, and I never went back there. You're right. I never went back there. I thought, I'm never buying from this guy. And I was like 10 or 11, and I knew not to go back to that guy. I mean, I was ecstatic that day. And then when I saw it, and I knew that I had been had, I was like, never going back there. So it's like the long view. It's the long view. It's going. I mean, the other, and you to take it from comic books to steakhouses, you get treated poorly at a steakhouse. No matter how good the steakhouse is, it's still a bad experience. So
that's right. On the other hand, you could buy a good steak in a lot of places, man.
Right.
Yeah, Danny doesn't realize for another 27 hours I am homeless. I get my home tomorrow. For the record, my snakes are housed. They're in a very safe space with another breeder. I am roughing it in the wilds of Minnesota. Pardon the sniffles, guys. I'm sorry. It's cold out here. This is where the signal's at. It's where I got to go. I'm going to try and snag Kelly and Charlie and see if they'll bring me a fresh cup of coffee so I can warm up. I'm like the little dude on the street corner. Like, I need a little cup of coffee.
I did want to
go ahead.
Go for it. Go.
No, because I want to dive in on the topic, but you go ahead.
Well, I wanted to segue into the topic as well: collaboration versus competition, and just to continue this conversation, or kind of start on this topic. What's your feeling as you move from one market to another? And I'm sure there's probably a different feel in where you are now from where you were. Do you feel like there's collegiality where you are now, the same kind of collegiality that you had in Florida? Or is it different? Is it more competitive?
I don't know yet. I'll find out. Reality will hit me hard in the face in 10 days when I go to Vend. I don't know that yet. I've the people I've interacted with here so far, first, they've been amazing, but second, I knew them. I know them from the show. I know them from the community. Even if we haven't met in person, I know them. So those are like, hey, welcome to Minnesota. Let's go hang out. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's going to be a positive interaction. I mean, that's built in. So I don't know. I'll find out. What made me think of this, though, is in business, we always think about competing. And it's us against the world. We're going to take this on. We see an opportunity in the market, and we're going to take our share, right? And restaurants are incredibly competitive, to their own detriment, honestly, but they're very competitive. And I started getting thinking about first some examples that I'll run through really, really fast of, wow, I've actually really kind of gone a more collaborative way than competitive way in this, but it's been out of necessity. I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel. But secondly, is this a weird industry? I know it's a weird industry, but is it different than other industries? And where does it make sense to compete? And where does it make sense to collaborate? So from a big macro standpoint, and another example, last night I was talking to a friend, and I won't say names or get specific, but the work that it takes to carry on a job, grow a ball python business, breed rats. Hey, Charlie, would you bring the coffee pourer for me? It's wearing on him. It's and that's an understatement. It's hard. For myself, I've hedged my work on rats, for example, by cultivating relationships in the form of sponsorships. Either the time it takes to grow rats or the financial responsibility to buy rats is a massive overhead. So I had to figure out how to hedge that, and I had to do it collaboratively. Thanks, dude. You're wearing shorts today?
Yeah, it's gonna be 80 today.
Okay. All right. Thank you, dude. Have an awesome day at school. There's the real sound. That's the sound of me getting warm right there. I'm going to just drink black coffee to get warm out here. This is great. if there's some. So
I wonder, I'm just, I wonder a little bit. So you mentioned a few different industries too, like restaurants are extremely competitive, right?
Yeah.
You want to be the best, and we're better than the other people, and we're gonna make a better product, or we're gonna undersell them, or whatever, right? It makes me wonder, what industries would competition be helpful, and what industries would collaboration be more helpful? In my view, I don't know if this industry, do you call it an industry?
I do, because I purposefully do. I used to call it a hobby, but I realized that I don't think people take it serious when we call it a hobby. And when you get into the laws, the logistics, the finances, the legislation, this is an industry, but that's a whole different show. So I call it an industry, and that's
so. I don't know if this industry has gotten to a level where competition would be the name of the game, right? I don't know if this industry is as because there's so, like you said, there's so few breeders, sellers in a particular area. I don't know if it's gotten to the level where it's, I got to beat the other guy, or I'm going to be pushed out.
I don't know that it's a beat the other guy. And I don't get me wrong. I think this is a matter of pragmatism rather than, because I enjoy capitalism, and I know maybe that's not popular these days, but I enjoy winning. There's my time, my value that I add, and my money that I get. I enjoy that. But the pragmatism of it, the practicality of it is, this is almost unique. But I think about it in other. We don't hear the word collaboration a whole lot in business because people are competing. But the fact is, there's mergers and acquisitions. An industry gets tough. It's a tough time in an industry. Let's take the music industry. Producers, recording studios, there used to be 50 of them. Now they've consolidated. That's a form of collaboration. They were going to fail if they stayed as isolated competing entities. So they merge, one acquires another, and they they succeed and they go on, and their industry changed massively from the days of albums, cassettes, and CDs growing up till now. It's a complete different model. The only thing that's similar is that there's artists creating music. That's it.
Yeah.
So the people that I find, and as I learn relationships and as I learn the history of people in this industry, I find very big breeders were going, well, yeah, me and so that lived 30 miles away, he was working with this gene and I was working with this gene, and I had this rat farm and I would supply his rats and he would help me with this, and then I would sell his snakes and he would sell mine. And we all get excited. We come in to a business or a space and we say, I think I've got something that nobody else has. I think I could take over. And then as you pull back the covers, you start to find that there are all of these challenges that are almost impossible to do really well on your own. So I had breeding partnerships this year with, I never know if I should say who I had the breeding partnerships with, because then other people might expect them to breed with them. But I know Shannon's okay with me saying it. And his girl that I bred with my male, she laid this week. So we advanced genes that I had something he could use, he had something I could use, and frankly he did me a really great solid favor, really jumped me forward. So there's that example. There's Taylor taking care of my snakes right now. That was just a huge favor, and I did pay him and I helped him out for that. But we're also now collaborating on a new business adventure as well. So I start to think, it's all kind of hit me at once, where like, it's really a collaborative idea that's working right now. And maybe it's just this tough time. Maybe it was easy 2 years ago in the boom, but I think people have to collaborate. I've seen a lot of breeders sort of die right now, business wise, and it's hard. It's sad to see. Collaborate, reach out to each other. How do you get through this, and how do you keep advancing?
Yeah. I like benevolent reptiles. I have this sense in my mind. I've never been a big competition guy, so the competition in my mind might have a negative connotation in the recesses of my brain, but there's friendly competition too that drives people to be better. I wonder, like, the other thing I'm thinking about is I met someone in Daytona who I think the terminology is discovered a gene.
Okay.
They discovered this gene.
Yeah.
Why would you not keep that proprietary? Like, why would you not hold on to that? Because that would be why would you announce that? And that's an indication of more collaboration than being competitive, correct?
Yeah. All right. Here's the problem. You can hold on to it. You can keep it private. You don't make any money. At that point, you may as well be raising the $50 normal that, so there's a strategy. I mean, you want to build the excitement. You do want to make sure the usual strategy is you want to make sure you're far enough ahead, like that you've done enough with the gene before you let it go. Or people will, when there's a new gene, they'll only let females go to start with, because females take 3 years to get to breeding maturity, whereas male only takes a year. So if you only let females out into the market, whereas a male, you could breed to 9 females and disseminate that gene. So there's a strategy to it and a kind of a hype that gets built, but you do have to let that go at some point because you want a return on your investment.
Yeah, I see. And also it raises the profile of your shop, right?
Yeah. It's like the light bulb. I mean, great that you have one light bulb in a lit up shop. That doesn't do you any good. You got to take it to market. You gotta move it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think about this in terms of my own experience. I'm in 2 networking groups,
Okay.
and one is something called BNI, and another thing is RGA. So BNI is position specific. So there's only one CPA, there's only one residential real estate person, there's only one, life insurance person. So it's position specific. So you're not collaborating across the in your own industry, but you're collaborating with other industries, right? Which works because in terms of referrals, you get all of the referrals for accounting, right?
Right.
But then there's this other networking group, which is much more open. You can have multiple CPAs, you can have multiple real estate agents, you can have multiple loan lenders, and that works as well. And actually, what I'm finding is that's working better than the position specific. It's kind of interesting, and I'm trying to figure out. And a lot of times, what people say in the one that's more open is that they'll say, if they're let's say they're in let's say they're a realtor, right, a residential realtor, they get referrals from other realtors who say, oh, this person's better at this or this person's better at that. And that's where a lot of their referrals come from within their own industry. So I wonder if there's a connection there or not. I'm not sure.
I think it's more common because we always hear of networking. You always hear of got to go meet the people. You always hear of what the Rotary clubs and all of that sort of thing. And I think that we like this idea of conquering and the lone wolf, but even in nature, there's not like the lone wolf doesn't. The wolf pack is the one that succeeds, not the lone wolf. Like, we love the idea of Rambo, but that's not real.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never
like the movie, yeah.
but you get the I as I understand it, that's the idea.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it takes trust. It takes a shared vision, a shared mission and values, and then relationships are hard, man. Having honest conversations when it's all good when the money's flowing, but when there's disappointment and disagreement, how do you get through it and how do you make that work?
Yeah.
And I think restaurants are so competitive. I moved to this other small town in it's called Banner Elk, North Carolina. I just got into town, and skilled bartenders were impossible to find.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the best restaurant that I knew of. I bought a martini. I specifically ordered it from the owner. I introduced myself in a suit, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a daytime bartender. I won't poach your bartender. I promise you. I give you my word, but I need a daytime bartender. Could you refer me somebody? And I will not ever book them. I will never book them in the evenings. I will be upfront and open with this." And I'll never forget it. It was this New Orleans themed restaurant, great restaurant. She had this Southern passive aggressive thing down. She was just, that'd be nice. She's making my martini. You want this dry or sweet, up or on the rocks? And she serves me my martini, and she goes, "Now you enjoy this. This one's on the house. And you stay right the F away from my bartenders. It's really nice to make your acquaintance, Mr. Adam." And she walked off. That and that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Business. It's cutthroat, man. In restaurants, it's bad juju, but I'd go into a bar, tip $100. Who's that guy? Boom, here's my business card. Here's who I am.
Yeah.
And walk out. And I mean, that's the behavior that you're up against in restaurants. So, but I get thinking, even the guy that owns Morph Market, he's competing with the guy that runs Show Me Snakes, and Show Me Snakes wants to start their own marketplace. But they are collaborating. They're working together. They have built a relationship. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they realized Apple wanted to be Apple, but they had to have a Windows interface. Excel was still going to be the business standard. So they had to collaborate to figure out how to get Excel on a Mac. And they resisted it for a long, long time. But this day and age, I work on a Mac and I run Excel.
It kind of goes back to that. It goes back to I mean, this is the thing. Whenever you create an either or question, how many times do you?
It's not great. I'm really glad you brought that home. It's not a binary choice. It's a Venn diagram of an overlap.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it makes me go back to friendly competition. It's when the competition becomes unfriendly. It becomes unhealthy. It becomes about getting the other person and destroying the other person or whatever, which is what happens sometimes in business for sure. And that's what makes people scared. That's what makes the owner of your bar, the bar that you went into, go, you stay the F away from my.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I mean, obviously,
so nice
she had an experience where, or she has this idea that there can never be friendly competition as opposed to unfriendly or unhealthy competition.
Well, and we're creatures of our experiences. She'd probably heard that 10 other times. She knew staffing was a problem in that town. She knew that, man, if this bartender gets away, they might not come back, you know?
Right.
So I get it. And I did go back. We actually became friends, but I never did get that bartender, though. That wasn't going to happen. So I wonder, and maybe this is a good leapfrog for next episode. Does collaboration, though, lead to tiers and a pecking order and okay, I'm so-and-so, but you're so-and-so, and this is my role and this is yours. And what happens when that needs to be disrupted? Because nobody likes to be kept down. Nobody likes snobbery. Nobody likes you're here and I'm here.
Right. Yeah.
But we almost, and I'm thinking out loud here at the moment, but we almost have to define those roles when we do collaborate. I mean, there's got to be order. And when does the order get disrupted? Maybe that's what we got to talk about next week, is disrupting the order.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, I don't know, that's just baked into it. But yeah, in terms of that, like, there has to be mobility. I mean,
right. There's got to be the opportunity. Yeah.
The opportunity, the mobility to expand and to grow, and for that not to be threatening. And I'm not sure. I don't know if that's obviously you have a good relationship with people who are just starting out, right?
Yeah.
And because you starting out is fresh in your mind because you started in 2020, right?
Yeah.
So you are, I feel like you are very collaborative. You want to help people and grow but do you do that out of a sense of the industry and what's best for you? Or do you do that out of a sense of, like, where does that come from? Why do you do it? Why are you not threatened by new breeders?
Oh, that's a big 2-minute wrap up right there. In my experience, restaurants are teams. You can't succeed unless you're going to participate as a team member in a restaurant. You can think you can. If you can't rely on the guy running your food for you, you can't take more tables. You can't make more money. You can't give a great service at a table. The cook's got to cook your food. Like, you can't literally do it all. You can't take the steak order and go cook it. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So collaboration doesn't scare me. The second part is, and I encourage everybody to think this way and find how they could do it, but there's a little percentage of me that thinks I can do it better and thinks I have something different to offer. It could be total BS, but why get into anything if you don't think you can do something a little bit better? What can I differentiate better? And I think my customer service is better. I think my care for my animals is better. I think being part of my community is better than other people have to offer. And I think that I offer this platform where we can hang out and hopefully learn a little bit from each other. So those are my subtle differences that I think I can offer. But everybody's got to have that in their mind, or else it is sort of a hobby. And that's okay. It's okay. Matter of fact, these days life is easier for hobbyists because they know they're going to lose money. They're just happy enjoying it and putting money in. Then they're, it's harder as a business. But
well, maybe I'm a little, and this is, maybe we'll just wrap up here. Maybe I'm a little biased, but going to Daytona, there was something different about your, you had many vendors there. It was amazing. And you had some vendors who had, 8 tables, 5 tables, whatever. There's something very, first of all, there was a buzz around your table, but there was something very visually or aesthetically pleasing about your table as well. You take a lot of time about on that type of thing. It's, I don't want to use the word slick because that has like a negative connotation.
Right. But, hey, slick at them. Hey.
Yeah, but it was very, like, it was, I could tell it was really well thought out. And not only that, you were out in front of the table, engaging people who came up. I thought you did a fantastic job, and that's something that I thought was a differentiator. So maybe it's different. Maybe that's the healthy part of competition, right? You collaborate, the other people that are out there, but then you differentiate and you say, this is what I've got.
Yeah, and it. Thank you for the kind words, by the way, because that's nice to know that that's translating, and I do put a lot of work into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's almost a two-sided or a two-facedness to it. Hey, let's collaborate. Let's do this. Let's go get the sales. Because I don't share the sales. I mean, maybe I should. Maybe I need to collaborate in sales too. But you get what I'm saying? Like it's a hard thing, and that's what got my mind going. Like, when does it make sense to compete and when to collaborate? I know we're going into overtime here, or we are there. I'm cold, and we like to leave people wanting more. I think we got to continue this theme. And Joe, I did want to make sure I got this in the show. You've connected, man. I know that it's hard to tell that sitting in a home office screaming into the ether of a podcast on the internet in the morning. Last week, people were messaging me on my phone, not just in the conversation. Hey, where's Joe? Is everything all right with Joe? Is he still going to do the show? You guys cool? I was like, yeah. He said he's got something to do. He'll be back. Like, Joe would tell me if he wasn't going to be here. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he's going to be back. And then I was like, well, I haven't really done a wellness check on Joe. I wonder if he's okay. No, he's fine. So you're connecting, man. I want to make sure that you know that, man.
Well, thanks. I mean, I think just on my end, these are really interesting conversations. I love getting to know the people in the chat. Really, this has been a great experience for me, and I want to continue it. So it's just every once in a while I got to do something for my job. If there was one thing, if I could do this all day with not just this industry, but many, many other industries, this is what I would do all day. Hopefully my people in my firm aren't,
right,
tune into this, but I would go, I love doing this. This is great. It's just, I'm not in the industry selling, so I got to pay some bills,
I think there's I think you'd be a phenomenal, consultant, coach. I really think so. That's not the time or the place for that conversation and that topic. I think there's something there. I would, speaking of collaborating, I would do business consulting with you as a partner in that sphere. Seriously, I really would. It's really has kind of struck me. But we can dig into that, guys. Tonight, a special episode of Proper Royals Live is going to be 8:00 on a Thursday night, not a Tuesday night. Got the president of USARK Florida, as well as the director of communications, Daniel Parker, Elizabeth Wisniewski. 8 p.m. tonight, I'm doing double duty. I'll start my day, and tonight you'll get to see the sunset behind me. I'm going to go buy a winter coat because it's cold, and we'll get back to regularly scheduled program with high-speed Wi-Fi in a studio, lighting, audio, all good. Joe, take us home. You get the last word, man.
Again, this is a great conversation. Great way to start my Thursday. Love it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy your week. I'll see you next week.